When I started machine quilting, there was one design that was my nemesis, the one that I couldn't figure out how to quilt. But I finally did, and in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to quilt it. The feather meander is a fast and easy way to give your quilt a great look, but also finally get that feather shape down. I think you're going to find that if you're struggling with quilting feathers, this might be the trick to help it click. Well, let's get to quilting that feather meander. I'm going to start by quilting a larger swirl that has some space in between the lines, stopping when I get into the center. This is going to act as the spine of my feather, so once I get to that point, I'm going to go right into quilting my petals, which are kind of like half heart shapes. Now what I'm doing is quilting a line that goes out like a heart and kind of swoops back in. But I'm trying to make it look as though that line is merging into the spine. So what that means is as I come around and I swoop in, I'm going to keep going. And so these lines should look like they're going to become the spine. Once I touch the spine, I'll kind of scoot down just a little bit, traveling along that, and then coming back out, quilting my next petal. Making that line look like it's going to merge with the spine. Now I want to make the petals nice and large. This design will go faster and it will look better if you have those larger petals. One of the most common mistakes that people make is they make them too small. You really want to extend them out into that space. We want those big, curvy, beautiful petals. And I'm going to keep quilting them until I run out of room or get to the end of my line, like this. And there we have my first feather shape. So really want to make sure I make that swirl big enough and starting to add my petals, working away around the outside, filling that in. Now once I have the first one done, I'm going to use echoing to maneuver to the area to quilt my next one. Echoing around until I get to a spot where I have enough room to add my next feather meander. I'm going to do the same thing again. Quilting a nice large swirl, making sure that I'm leaving room to work my way back out. And here, as you can see, I have that half-inch spacing so that I can fit those petals as I'm working my way back out. Until I get to the end of my swirl. And I have my second beautiful feather meander. Now one thing I want to point out is that I'm leaving very little space in between the petals and the spine or my swirl. I want to make sure this whole thing is filled in nicely so I don't have to worry about echoing my way back in. Once I'm ready to do my next one, I'm going to echo. I could echo all the way around that feather. I could stop here. It doesn't matter. Just stop when you have space to add another one and quilt your next swirl. Coming in and going right into those petals, those half-heart shapes. Really extending them out. Now what's nice about this is we're only quilting one side of the feather. We're just getting the hang of the shape that we have to quilt for that petal. So once you get done with that, you can move on to the next one. And as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of a gap or space right there. So what I'm going to do is echo to fill it in. It doesn't matter what you echo. You can echo previously quilted feathers. You can echo the one you just quilted. As long as it's somewhat filled in, it's going to look good. So the most common mistakes I see with this design are not making the petals big enough, but also having trouble getting that half-heart shape or getting that line to merge. What can tend to happen is as you're quilting, you might find yourself doing something like this. What happens is my line looks like it's running into my spine instead of merging into it. And what can happen is if you keep going, the next thing you know, you're quilting them backwards. Now let me say there's nothing wrong with this feather meander, but for the most part I want to make them merge and go the same direction, just because it's going to help me get that momentum down. It'll be a lot easier. So let's see how to fix that, if that happens to you. First, I wouldn't stop, I would just keep going. If you find yourself going the wrong direction, let's say you're getting more of a different shape like this, what you can do is just get back to your spine, travel along the spine just a bit, and then go right back into your petal shapes. Or truthfully, you can just keep quilting it that way and call it a fun flower variation. Either way, I'm going to keep on going until my space is filled in. If I can't fit a whole feather, I'll just throw in a little swirl, whatever it takes to fill in that space. And so here you can see my petals started to intersect, they started to go the wrong direction. Once I caught that was happening, I just traveled down and then began quilting my petals correctly. I know I keep reiterating this, but if you get these weird gaps in between, just echo, 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 fill them in. And as you keep filling in that area, echoing, quilting your feathers, you're going to have a beautiful, soft, feathery design that's going to look great on all of your quilts. Once you learn the feather meander, you can use it in so many different areas of your quilts. Of course, as an all-over design, like I've done in this quilt. Or I also like to fit it in squares or circle-shaped blocks. It's an easy way to give it a custom look, but it's actually really fast and easy to quilt once you have the hang of it. If you're struggling with the feather meander, you can check out my new book, Free Motion Meandering. In this book, I have step-by-step illustrations plus troubleshooting. Not that I think you're necessarily going to make a mistake, but I've been teaching this stuff long enough. I know the problems people have with certain designs, and I know the tricks that will help them solve it. I also show you how to use it in other areas of your block. And it's just not for feathers. There's several meanders in here that build off a basic meander and adding some different shapes. So if you want to check that out, you can find all the information about this in the description box below. And if you're quilting along with us in the Free Motion Challenge, I hope you're enjoying it. Go ahead and try quilting the feather meander in one of your blocks. Let me know if you have any questions by leaving comments below. I can't wait to hear how it's going for you. Well, happy quilting, and I'll be back next week with another quilting tutorial.